Hi, I'm Meagan Johnson. This is Profit versus Pitfalls, Young Entrepreneurs. This is a first for young entrepreneurs. We got a couple firsts. One is we are streaming live for the very first time. That's an exciting new thing that's happening. And also, this is the first time that I've had an opportunity to talk to two young entrepreneurs. They are significant others, not just business partners, but also life partners. And we are with Caila Bird and Patrick Phillips. Though I guess I understand sometimes Patrick's alter ego is Pat. Did I get that right, Patrick, or did I flip-flop it?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, my friends that know me and are watching, they know I am a huge food person. I believe that it's never too soon to start planning your next meal. And when I read about the pig and the peanut, when I read about it in a local food journal, I just knew I wanted to meet these two. They recently moved here from Chicago, and when I say here, I mean my hometown, Phoenix, Arizona. Their company called the Pig and the Peanut, is a multifaceted private chef service. They highlight seasonal ingredients. They promote activism in the community, and I love this part. They feed the masses every way they know how. Hi, Caila. Hi, Patrick. I'm so excited you're here.
Hello, we're so excited to be here.
Amazing to be here.
Well, now tell me, first off, I want to know how did you come up with the name Pig and the Peanut?
Oh gosh. Okay. So many years ago, I had a dream of starting a farm, which honestly isn't very different than today. But I had just had boiled peanuts for the first time in my life, and I was obsessed with them. And I was like, I could live on these forever. Not a lot of people enjoyed them, so I wanted to have a peanut farm.
A peanut farm. You and Jimmy Carter.
There's just so many things to do in life. Peanut farm was one of them.
Uh-huh.
And also I had the idea that I would like to butcher my own animals, but I knew that I would never be able to do that with actual pigs once I met them. So I figured it would just be like a rescue farm in North Carolina. So it actually had nothing to do with Patrick at the time, but now it's very fitting.
So now what happened? The two of you met and you decided to start this business?
Yeah, so Caila had been doing Pig and the Peanut in Chicago for a couple of years.
About 8 years.
Yeah, and we started dating, and honestly, like one of the first things that I did, or we did together, was I actually went to one of her events that she had in Chicago.
That's true. I made him work immediately.
Yeah, so like one of our first dates, I was already part of the business, funny enough.
She put you to work right in the beginning?
Yep.
Did. I mean, it's necessary.
I was happy to help. It was something different for me, and I was really excited. It was a cool opportunity. And then, a couple of years later, a pandemic later, and kind of reevaluated what I wanted to do in my life. And that was, moving to Arizona with Caila and, jumping in full swing.
Yes.
So how did you develop, though? You said, you wanted to have a peanut farm. But tell me, how did this whole idea of this multifaceted chef service, how did it come together?
Well, I want to do everything always, and I cannot limit myself ever. So when starting my business, I had a lot of grandiose ideas. I actually started with one of my very good friends in Chicago, and she had been in the service industry for a very long time. And I was like, what I want to do is, at the time, more Southern focused cuisine, because at the time, there was a lot of seed heritage and learning about seeds that needed to come back for heirloom crops and all of this stuff. And I thought that that was the only place that was happening, because, this was 2012, before everyone kind of started learning that actually there's a lot of things that have been around for a very long time. So moving to Arizona, we've actually been able to pivot that from the Southern foods that might be heritage grains to the Southwestern foods that are heritage grains.
Okay.
Yeah, it's evolved.
Explain to what, when you say heritage grains, now what is that? I don't know what that is.
So a really great example of that, and it's not actually a grain, it's a legume. But there's this thing in Arizona called a tepary bean. And for a while, it had gone completely extinct. It was a bean that was used by, I think, predominantly the Pima people.
Okay.
it was super important to their everyday lives. And then when they were moved to reservations, they weren't able to harvest those beans anymore. The bean went extinct.
Wow.
And there is a woman who her father, if I'm correct, or somewhere in her lineage, they had been tepary bean farmers. And so she had some dry beans, like in a jar somewhere. She was
Really?
like, I'm going to bring these back. And she did. And now she has Ramona Farms. It's in the southwestern, I believe.
Just south of the valley. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's brought back this indigenous bean, which is insane. Like, that's amazing.
Well, I
that's
didn't
hard.
even know beans could go, or beans or vegetation could go extinct. But that makes sense. I mean,
Absolutely. If you stop,
that makes total sense.
If there's not a need for it anymore, then anything can go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you heard did you focus on this particular bean or heritage grain or?
I think, as the business started to grow and as I was sitting down with my former business partner talking about what we wanted to do, that became a large focus. Also wanting to bring, Chicago was big into craft beer at the time, which Arizona is now, which is great. So we were able to start pairing these foods that were native to Arizona with, cool wines. And I was like, ooh, that's fun. I like doing that too. But also I want to do my own pop-up events. And also I want to cater people's most intimate weddings. And I want to teach people about food and where food came from, because truly every single thing that you eat has a story, down to like macaroni and cheese and like Kraft mac and cheese. And that's called Foodways. And I started really focusing on that. So we've slowly paired it into, we are chefs, of course. We love food. It is the basis of every single thing that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, it's foodways education and learning about the things we're eating and incorporating communities into that thing and sitting down at a table together and enjoying this delicious meal that now you know the history of, which makes you appreciate things so much more.
I agree with you 100% that, I mean, food is just a terrific way to bring people together. And as I mentioned, I can make one meal stretch into the next. I mean, I love to just, there's no need to rush through a meal.
Never. I have when I eat weight.
How, and I'm so intrigued by this sort of community aspect that your business has. How are you addressing that? When you said you're looking at feeding the masses any way that you know how, what does that look like?
Well, I mean, it takes on multiple facets, and we've been lucky enough to meet an amazing community in the short amount of time we've been in Arizona, 5 months, especially with pairing with Local First Arizona, to not only know like where those communities are, but like what people are into and, how to tap into those things. Like I said, we've met a bunch of people within Local First that have been amazing. We've been, partnering or working with the Tiger Mountain Foundation, down at Spaces of Opportunity in South Phoenix.
We want to give them all of our time.
Which has been an amazing community. They've been just awesome to work with and awesome, to volunteer with. And we want to continue doing those things further. But right now we're doing it in multiple ways. We have our Verde Meal Prep, which is a weekly meal prep service that we're doing that incorporates local healthy foods. So everybody can eat good food, but even people that have dietary restrictions, that food is hard for them, whether it's to find things that they can eat or finding ways to prepare food that makes it accessible for them. That is something we're doing. We're looking to do. Last week we just did a pop-up over at Aura Brewing, so just getting finding that market. But then also we're looking to do pop-up dinner series in the future at our kitchen in Mesa, starting in September.
Ooh.
And also getting into the farms, because our end goal is still to become farmers, which seems crazy right now.
I missed what you said. Your angle is to still become a farmer?
Still a farm. It's stuck since I was 9.
So you're still holding on to that one. That the goal is to have a farm.
I like to think that I'm coining the term farm bodega.
Farm bodega. I have
Yeah.
not heard this term before. Caila, is this a term that you created?
I believe I did.
All right, I
haven't.
like it. Farm bodega. Okay.
Yeah.
My social media person is already hashtagging that right now. I can tell. Okay. So what does that look like? This farm bodega?
Well, to be honest with you, it's funny because we are entrepreneurs, and I understand that, everybody's goal when they have a business is to make money. But I think a larger part of our goal is obviously to be able to pay our bills, but to be happy and to be able to support everyone. So with this farm bodega, we would like to grow, some crops ourselves, but those will be mostly used for dishes that are used for pop-up events or, special occasions that are held at the farm, or daily takeaway meals. And then we will have other farmers come in and sell their product as well. And, it's, I guess Schitt's Creek came up with it first, but that general store feel, but with, locally sourced products, some of which that we make, cured meats and cheeses, but then also having food that you can take away. And I like to call that sneaky fine dining. So, holding out on maybe the names of ingredients that might be intimidating to people that they otherwise might not try, and slipping it in there and making it delicious and in a cute picnic basket. Ooh. That you can then go and eat on the farm property with. Like, who doesn't want that?
No, Phoenix, Arizona, we're going to be a better place because of it.
I fully agree.
I do want to kind of go back in time a little bit when the two of you decided to combine forces and bring this business into fruition. What was that conversation like?
So we were looking for a big life change. We're in the upcoming winter of 2020 in Chicago, and we knew that we didn't want to be in Chicago anymore. So we were going to come to Arizona to kind of check things out, see some family, and see what it's like. And on the way in, we stopped in Colorado to visit some of my family, and they own their own woodworking business. And after talking to them and being here in Arizona, I was like, why am I making money for somebody else? Caila had so many great ideas, and she just didn't have the people power in order to do it all herself.
No, it's just me.
And I've done events with her in the past, kind of one-off deals, and it was a great opportunity for us to just jump into it head first with the both of us, and see how far it can go and see what we can do and what kind of impact we can make in the community out here.
And more importantly, it happened all in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think, like almost everyone else, everyone was just like, what are we doing? What's the point here? This is the one we get. So what are we going to do with it? And farm is the answer.
So Pat, what were you doing before?
So I worked for Yeti Coolers in Chicago. They just opened up a store about a year and a half prior to that, and I was helping run that store, and was potentially looking into helping open other stores. And then as soon as that opportunity kind of came to fruition, the pandemic started, and like everybody else's opportunities kind of started dwindling day by day. And I luckily got to work from home for almost a full year, but realized that my heart wasn't into it, and I wanted to do something that I felt better about and I can make a difference. And that whole company was about following your dreams and doing what's important to you, and making an impact in people's lives is an important thing to me. And obviously, like, being able to cook with Caila and to learn from her has been a great experience for me. And I'm just looking to grow my own personal skill sets and grow as a person. And this is a great opportunity to help the love of my life with her dream, but also to start creating some new goals and dreams for myself.
Yeah. But I have to ask, and I've heard this from other entrepreneurs who are partners in business and partners in life, that the trap is that all you talk about is the business. So your personal life becomes all about the business. Has that happened to the two of you?
Well, so on top of being in a pandemic, and we originally started in Chicago, so a small 2-bedroom apartment in a city during a pandemic. So we were already on top of each other. And then, moving here, we decided to do the millennial move and move in with our parents to save up all of the money we possibly can. So we're on top of each other in a room. And then we also have our business. We just can't get enough of each other ever. I have to be around him all the time.
But the one thing is, even though work does, take up most of our day, the nice thing is that it is food related. So we get to talk about food. We get to eat food. Going to a restaurant is, it's a
why would we do that?
It's a not a business expense, but a business outing.
Yeah,
I guess.
it's all research.
We get to do research on food. We get to communicate. We get to talk to people that are in the industry and local farmers and things like that. So we are talking about work all the time, but there definitely is worse things to be doing.
Absolutely.
So I hear you say you do talk about work all the time, but the work is such a good thing. You enjoy it, both in personal life and professional life.
Absolutely.
All right, and I, of course, now I have to ask, because you brought up going out to eat. Is there a restaurant here in town that you have found that you like a lot?
We are still learning. We have only been here for just now 5 months.
5 months, wow.
Yeah. And again, moving in the middle of a pandemic. So fortunately, the restaurants that we have gone to are smaller restaurants. We found a place that makes Silvana's, which is a Filipino cookie dessert that is outstanding. We found the best banh mi in Arizona. We have found the best Chinese food in Arizona.
What we think is the best.
We haven't quite made it out to a lot of the restaurants we want to go to. Oh gosh, there is a whole list. Yeah. The one that no one can pronounce at South Mountain, that might be my favorite.
Oh yes, I know. I always want to say Quissentials, but that's not the name. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yes.
It's working. This marketing is working.
I've been there. It's very good. It's very good. It's very romantic.
There's ongoing Google Maps list of restaurants that we need to go to.
Restaurant Progress is one of them.
There's Persephone.
Or Perception.
Both of those are good. I like both of those. Yes. Okay. We're on the same. I can tell we're on the same restaurant page.
We're ready.
I can tell if I allow this, we could talk about restaurants for another hour. But I want to get back to being entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And Pat, since you went from what I call a traditional job, a mainstream job, to being an entrepreneur, what was that transition like?
Having that structure is something that I always took for granted. In a lot of my jobs, I was in a managerial role, so I was in charge of creating that structure for my team, my staff. But going full on, small business, doing it on your own, there's not that extra little bit of information you're getting all the time, but hey, you should probably do this, or hey, here's our end goal, and I can kind of make that route from there. It's having to take that initiative on literally everything we do.
You write the policy and procedure.
Yeah,
you do it. It's your job.
Been, I think, the biggest adjustment, but also it's one of the most gratifying things, and it's the most when you see a project go from nothing to the actual product itself to the market, or seeing people eating our food, having those customers that aren't, I'm not that middleman anymore, and I'm not the face of a brand. Just say I am the brand with Caila. It's it pays off, and it feels really good, and it feels good to be able to make those decisions that are going to be the most impactful to our business and to the community in general.
And I also think that being in the time that we're in, it's so exciting to be able to build a business. It started with me and now it's me and Patrick, and we get to be the business that we want to be. We want to be able to pay our employees a living wage and provide health insurance, and we can figure out how to do that. We can be the employers that we always wanted to be, and we can actually help the community by means of monetary donation or time or resources or whatever. We can actually make a change in a way. And I know everyone says food brings people together, but it does. And I really do believe that if we ate a lot more diverse foods in America and started to learn about where those foods come from and the history that they come from, and this immigrant journey of this bread. In Arizona, Navajo fry bread or Indian fry bread is a horrible, sad history.
Mm-hmm.
And, no one knows what it is, but if we learned this story and we enjoyed these foods together and really practiced empathy while eating, I think we would all be able to understand each other a little bit more. And for us to be able to put that into our business as we're starting it and put that energy in from the beginning and not have anyone come in and be like, well, actually, for blah, 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 blah. It's like, nope, that's what we want to do. And it's our business and we get to say so.
I think you took what my attitude about travel. I think we would all understand each other better. We'd have a better understanding of people, more empathy if we all traveled more. And I realized during COVID that was a little bit hindered. But you're taking that and putting that into the food circle. I think that's great. I mean, that makes total sense. I recently met somebody, an adult man, who said to me, I judge every restaurant on its chicken strips. I'm thinking, what are you, 12? And you say that's the breadth of your culinary desires is chicken strips?
No.
But I realize
No.
I'm not insulting chicken strips. Those of you people who love chicken strips, but you're right. There's such diversity in food, and understanding where it came from, I think, is a very eye-opening experience.
Definitely.
You did mention employees. So how many employees do you have? You have employees?
Just us two right now.
Just you two, okay. And I love the fact you touched upon paying a living wage, health insurance. What would you say to a young entrepreneur who is struggling with how do I create the balance? I want to create a business that, excuse me, gives back to the community, but also I need to make a profit. What would you say?
Well, there's a lot of ways of doing it, and there's not, especially giving back to the community, like we just said, like whether that's monetary donations or just taking the time and following through with what you're saying. It doesn't always have to be these big grandiose donations, whether it's just
practicing what you preach.
Yeah, getting you and your staff, like there's always a way, whether it is like financially or just, time exposure. There's, especially with social media nowadays, there's a lot of ways to give attention to, the things that are going on in this world without having to necessarily pay for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many resources out there that I think something that I didn't understand as a very young entrepreneur, because I started owning my own bakery when I was like 19, and I ran it out of a coffee shop. But I was also vegan, but I owned my vegan bakery, and I thought that I had to be the best. And if somebody was better than me, then that meant that I had failed. And moving to Arizona, surprisingly, a place where people say there isn't any culture, we've been schooled in culture and community, especially in Local First Arizona. I butcher this phrase every single time, but it's the rising tide raises all ships. And so if we all succeed and, we're all the best darn vegan bakery we can be, then we can all do this together. Like there's room for everyone at the top. But having said that, as well as, two nice-faced white people owning a business, we need to also step down and lift other voices for people that don't have the opportunities that we've had, literally just based on the color of our skin. So that is something that we really want to, do as we grow our business, is to raise other people's voices up to the best of our ability.
Oh, wow. That sounds terrific. Yeah. I hate to turn it around to a negative note, but I like to tell other young entrepreneurs, what went wrong? Did anything go wrong in your process? And you're like, oh, that stung.
Meagan, to be honest with you, there are things that I still like lay in bed at night and I'll be like, that's steak. It truly happens. I think that spreading yourself too thin as a entrepreneur, like kind of is the way to go, is, the American way, work 80 hours a week and that means you're awesome. But also work 80 hours a week and that means you make a lot of mistakes, and that means you're not being your best self, and that means you're probably not being your most authentic self. and you're grasping for straws that you can't fill your cup. You can't fill anyone's cup. So putting that ego aside and being like, I'm going to focus on this one thing, and I'm going to do this the best I can, and then I'm going to move from there, and I'm going to allow help, and I'm going to accept help, and I'm going to collaborate with people who can make a better baguette than I can, because how does this make sense? And I'm going to lift this company up at the same time. Like, you have to be your best self. You have to find balance. I don't know how. If anyone can figure out that answer, they should come to us. But that's my best advice.
So you said you would focus on one thing, like you're saying, I'm going to create a terrific baguette, and you'd focus on something like that?
Or, focus on, and now I've had a lot of people come to us, especially as we come to Arizona, and say like, oh, well, that's great that you do this, but you should do it this way. And like, we get it. We understand there's don't compromise who you are, but also you need to take it one step at a time. Like, you cannot jump full force into something being like, I do farmers markets, I do pop-up dinners, I do basically what we're doing right now.
Gotcha.
We have our hands in everything. And yes, you can be there eventually, but you have to slow down the pace, because otherwise you're not going to be 100% at any of those things. And then you're just going to stress yourself out.
Oh, Pat, did I interrupted you there? Were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to add that, and something we're learning every day is that, your product and everything you put out there isn't going to be for everybody. Like, you can't please everybody at all times. That's just not realistic. And the more you try to do that,
and for
the more you try to please everybody out there, the less you're going to be authentically you, and the further you're going to steer off from what you are and what your brand is. And, just the better, like Caila was saying, like, the better you're going to be able at identifying what you are and what you want to do, and you're not going to divert from that.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And it's okay.
Fail. Keep going. Sorry.
It's okay to fail away. Like, you have to, otherwise you don't learn, and that's not fun.
No,
that's not.
All right. Now, this is the part, I like to call this part pitfalls versus profits. Name 3 pitfalls or mistakes maybe you made while creating your business.
Well, coming from Chicago, Illinois to Arizona, thinking we can do the same exact thing, I think was our biggest pitfall.
Okay.
Not that we haven't been successful, because we've definitely been able to measure success in other ways, but it's not translatable. It's like you're, moving college credits. Like, you somebody in Arizona doesn't eat the same thing as somebody in, the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
And I think we spent a lot of time. We had a plan when we came here. We even had it all in our calendar, and we were like, yeah, this is it. This is what we're going to do. And then immediately we're like, oh, nope, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to try something completely different, and that's okay.
Excellent. All right, Pat, you going to add to the pitfalls?
Kind of what we touched on earlier, though, is just realizing you can't do it all on your own. I know Caila touched on it a lot earlier, but it's something that you can't put your best product out if you're spreading yourself too thin, and trying to be a jack of all trades can lead you into that master of nothing kind of pick a hole you're going to keep falling into, because you're going to keep wanting to do everything. You're going to want to keep wanting to do everything perfectly, and that's just not realistic.
No.
You're going to end up burning yourself out, and you're going to end up not even doing anything at all.
Yeah.
All right, and on the flip side, what are 3 profits or good decisions you made while building your business?
Moving to Arizona.
Being a Phoenix, I'm a 3rd generation Phoenix native. You cannot talk enough about Phoenix, Arizona, in my mind.
I mean, like I said earlier, I think that, so I lived in Arizona in high school, and when I left, I had a lot of opinions, and it was a different time. And I, moved to the big city and was like, I'm a big city girl. Like, this is what I do now. And as life happened, as we would come back to Arizona, and as I started bringing Patrick to Arizona, it started looking very different to me. And then especially after the pandemic, it started looking very different to me. And I still hear, like I said before, that Arizona has no culture, Arizona has no community. And well, yes, in some places, yes. And there are a lot of things that we can fix about this amazing state. We have thrived. I have never felt as supported as I have being here, especially, in Phoenix, in Mesa, in Scottsdale. Like there are communities here, and if you can't find it, then maybe you're not looking in the right place, and maybe you need to kind of like reevaluate, because this is a wonderful place to. It's like the Wild West. It's amazing.
It is. Pat, do you want to add to the profit portion?
Yeah, just staying true to who you are, and staying true to your values. I think with something we're learning as a small business, everybody has an opinion on what you should do or what's going to work for you. But just staying true to who you are, and it might not always work, but keep trying, and trying it differently, and staying on your own path of growth is something that's always going to lead you in the right direction of where you need to be.
And I think on that note, you have to adapt. You have to be adaptable. And if there's anything anyone has learned in 2020, whether you are a business owner, you started a business, you're just a human being in the world, you have to adapt. And the world is changing rapidly. And that means that people want different things. People want to put their money into different things. People care about different things. Who even knows what's happening all over the place? Like everything is changing. And if you can't adapt, then you're not going to be successful. And that's just kind of what it is.
Well, I appreciate you guys adapting to our, after we had a little crash there. So.
Of course.
Of course.
All right. I do have to share with you that I showed the picture of the fried chicken you have on your website to my husband.
Yes.
And I think he'd like to, he has a picture of me on his desk. I think he'd like to swap it out and put the picture of the chicken in there, in the frame.
Fried chicken sandwich.
It was the most amazing looking fried chicken. And I would be negligent if I did not mention some of the wonderful comments I have read about Pig and the Peanut. Things like, I don't even have the words to describe how amazing this company is. The food was above and beyond restaurant quality. I can't recommend them enough. They are wonderful. Now I'd like to do what I like to call the shameless business plug. Please let everybody know where they can find you, how they can communicate with you, connect with you, talk to you about this incredible venture you are on. How do we do that?
So you can find us on pigandthepeanut.com. You can contact us directly through the website. You can also find us or email hello@pigandthepeanut.com. On social media, we're at Pig and the Peanut. That's on Facebook and on Instagram. So feel free to message us through any of those medias, and we'd be happy to book your event, whether it's big or small. Yeah.
Any occasion. Also, we have the Verde meal prep happening pretty much weekly right now. So that's for anybody who has special dietary restrictions or really just wants to eat better through the week. It is not a boring meal prep, and it's never the same. We also have a chef's tasting series coming up at the Local First Community Kitchen in September. So we will have a donation community element to it, raffle prizes, as well as a course meal that focuses on indigenous ingredients of Arizona.
Oh, that sounds great. And you're at farmers markets too, that's correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So
we'll be everywhere. Yeah. And we're also doing a summer pop-up series. So in breweries, any place that has transitioned through the pandemic and is having a hard time, getting back on their feet with the foods, we are there to save the day.
Oh.
Yep. And you can sign up for a newsletter on pigandthepeanut.com to be, informed about all the happenings on, so everything that's going on with us.
Access to everything.
Thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see you at the farmers markets and the pop-ups, and I know Phoenix, Arizona, we are a better place because you guys are here. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.